everybody. Welcome back into another Saturday edition of Prime Sports World. I'm, of course, your host, David On Point Huffman. Right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins. If you're looking for consistent content on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Prime Sports World is a pretty good place to hang out. We go live basically every single day, bringing you the most up-to-date content, including a double dose of the crossover this weekend, where we're going to be breaking down the Atlantic Division tomorrow. And there is a lot to talk about when it comes to the Atlantic, especially when it comes to those Boston Celtics. We will talk about it tomorrow. A little bit of a tease, what they call an industry. So go and check out that content tomorrow. I've been David Huffman. Right there is TJ Hopkins. And welcome into the show. Also, if you want to talk a little NBA basketball, this is going to be our Southwest Division preview, a division dominated by the Memphis Grizzlies, who were the number one seed in this division last year. But Dallas actually went to the Western Conference Finals and actually lost to the Golden State Warriors, obviously. TJ, what's up, man? Happy Saturday. How are you?
I'm drinking.
Oh, all right. So you're doing well. I'm drinking water. I'm a little bit hungover. So that's what you do when you're hungover. You drink water.
Not necessarily, but go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Man, you'll understand someday. Someday you will be hungover, and I will get the last laugh. I promise you, it'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna stay young. You're gonna stay young forever. I promise you.
Yeah. Okay.
So before we get into each individual team, just takeaways from the Southwest before we get into each individual team, just overarching.
Well, first I just got some breaking news. Bill's safety Micah Hyde is out for the year. He's
man.
Yeah, that's a tough blow for them. But we'll discuss
that neck injury ended up being a lot worse than
I think so. Yeah,
I guess. I mean, it must be.
But going back to this, thoughts in this division. As far as I'm concerned, it's the Mavs division. Well, it's Mavs and Memphis till the other teams play catch up. I mean, New Orleans is right there, but they are.
New Orleans is there. I got news for you.
I think not, because I want to see them with. They're still hanging on hope that Zion is the guy. Right?
Yeah, true. That's true.
So until Zion's in the fray, he's able to play the games with these guys. I can't put them in that group because that's a walking 24 and 10. Right, in his unique way, right? Like
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I personally think that New Orleans might be the most talented roster in the NBA on paper, obviously.
That's tough. That's like obviously this division is when it comes to like individuals. This division is headlined by two of the best, Luka, Ja.
Yeah.
Right, like Luka and Ja, right? Like we got two perennial MVP candidates. We already thought Ja Morant won most improved. It's like, dude, how you were literally an MVP candidate this past season, so you should literally be disqualified for that award. But Luka and Ja, it starts with them, it ends with them. No disrespect to CJ McCollum, no disrespect to Brandon Ingram. San Antonio, you're in a rebuild after 20 years of being great, so it's about time. And Houston, you're in year 3 of your rebuild since you traded James Harden away. Yeah, this is going into the third year. So
third year
under Steven. I was concerned because I legit thought that they was gonna fire Steven Silas. After that whole James Harden.
No, I think he's going to get the Brent Brown treatment. I think he's going to have the opportunity to really mold this team, and then he'll probably get fired for the coach that actually want to coach this team. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, this team is for sure one of the teams that dominated by the Dallas Mavericks and the Memphis Grizzlies, and yeah, New Orleans is coming. Let's talk about those Memphis Grizzlies. So there's our starters: John Morant, Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., Steven Adams. I may have spelled Steven Adams wrong. I think he spells it with a PH. Anyways, key reserves: Tyus Jones, Zaire Williams, John Conker, who got a big contract in the offseason, Xavier Tillman, Kennedy Challenger was a first-round pick, Jake Laveria was also a first-round pick, and Brandon Clark, first-round pick 2 years ago. Taylor Jenkins is the head coach. Their record last year was 56-26. They were the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. Obviously, they traded away Anthony Melton in the offseason, so he's no longer on this team. They lost Kyle Anderson in free agency. None of the rest of this stuff matters. They added Danny Green to this team as well. I have him listed there, but I do not think he'll play this season, so that's why I didn't put him on the list. No, they also have Kenny Lawson Jr. on this team, too, who was fun.
If they
he's going to be on the G League, but I don't know how much he'll actually play in the NBA. But
if Danny Green somehow plays this season, it's a miracle. Like it really is.
Yeah, in case you don't know, Danny Green tore his ACL in the Eastern semifinals in the game that Philadelphia got eliminated on in a game where I think it was Joel Embiid ran into him, and basically, tore his ACL. I would be shocked if he played this season.
Yeah, obviously. So, like, if you're Memphis, you are what was it? Western Conference. Yeah, Western Conference semis, right? You lost in the second round to Golden State.
Yep.
So obviously, you're trying to come back off of that. The health of Ja Morant is key to that. I get it. You played like 24, maybe 26 games without Ja Morant. Your record in that was like 22 and whatever. So you were really good last season when Ja Morant didn't play. Don't continue to bank on that, right? Like because you can't, right? Like teams are getting better, and all that other stuff. Like they're gonna like you're not the surprise anymore. Like everybody's like you got lightning in a bottle, but that just means your championship window closes that much sooner because all you guys are young. But eventually, all you guys are going to get expensive.
I mean, I think that's the big thing that we need to talk about here when it comes to the Memphis Grizzlies. What's up, Izzy, CEO of Prime Sports World? In the comments section, New Orleans is there. Might just come in. We're not doing Go Talk today, Izzy. That's going to be a show for another day. CJ McCollum. Anyways, CJ McCollum just signed a 2-year extension. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Kenny Lofton, Izzy Rivera. I think the big thing we're talking about, I mean, Ja Morant just signed his max extension this offseason. Desmond Bane is probably going to get a borderline max. Dylan Brooks is a guy who's going to be probably a trade chip to see if they want to improve this roster at some point. This is a roster that's going to get expensive. When you hit on draft picks, you eventually have to pay these people. And when you're in a smaller market like Memphis, an owner that notoriously doesn't like to go into the luxury tax and maybe not want to pay to have an expensive roster, this is going to get expensive. This is going to be expensive. That's the reason they traded away DeAnthony Melton, who's a talented player who couldn't find minutes on this team. You basically traded him away for literally was nothing to the Philadelphia 76ers. Like for real, like literally equivalent of nothing. Brandon Clark, I think, is an interesting player. I like their draft picks of Kennedy Chandler. I'm not crazy about Jake Ravavia and David Roddy. I didn't even put on this list. But let's talk some storylines. What's some storylines we're watching when it comes to Memphis?
Actually, Ja MVP conversation, right? How do you piggyback off of one MVP caliber season to the next? Again, you want that proverbial seat at the table, like that best player seat at the table. Like you want to have a seat at that table. You want to be a part of that conversation. You want to know how you stay in that conversation. It's season after season after season of being great. You can't just have one great season and then an average season, then another great season, then an okay season, then a good season, then no.
I think that's what separates like the San Antonio Spurs and those dynasty teams, like the Boston Celtics, have been good every single season. Like they've been good every year, as opposed to like Memphis, who has one really good season. Let's see what happens to them this season. Like
exactly, right? Like you're not the surprise anymore, right? So like when everybody knows, like when Memphis comes to town, it's gonna be big. You're gonna sell out. You depending on who the opponent is, you probably gonna be on national TV, right? Memphis gonna get a lot of national games this year,
as they should,
and you finna get everybody's best, right? So that's the storyline. Like you have to 56 and 26. How do you come back off of that? How do you come back off of that? How do you improve off of that? Because we already know, like, if Ja Morant doesn't get hurt, like you kind of got a caveat in that playoff series against the Warriors, right? You had a player get suspended, and your best player missed the last 3 games.
And they could easily have won game 1. I mean, if Ja Morant makes that layup, they win game 1.
And now, before anybody gets their underwear in the twist, we're not saying that healthy Ja Morant and Dylan Brooks not suspended. We're not saying they beat Golden State. Everybody's so quick to they still would have lost. Like you're not listening. I'm saying Ja Morant wasn't there for 3 games.
Things could have gotten interesting if they
Things
had
could have
made that layup. Dylan Brooks doesn't get suspended. Ja Morant doesn't get hurt. That's a 7-game series.
That's that's it. And when it goes 7, anything can happen, as we'll get to when we talk to the Dallas Mavericks.
Let's talk best and worst case scenario. Best case scenario, in my opinion, for the Memphis Grizzlies, win the ship. That's their best case scenario. They have arguably a top 10 player in the NBA right now in Ja Morant. They have some really nice complementary. Jaren Jackson Jr., dark horse, defensive player of the year candidate.
Like it.
Like for real.
Like
and then 6th man of the year. I mean, Zaire Williams, Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones led the league in turnover to assist ratio for the 3 years in a row. That is just a wild stat for somebody coming off your bench. This is a team that's their best case scenario, win it all.
Like it. No issue with that whatsoever.
Their worst case scenario, I think, is being a top 5 seed in the Western Conference. Like, they're going to be really good. Like, they're just going to be. Like, they're going to be really good. Their best player plays hard. He plays every night. Like, as long as he doesn't get hurt, obviously, knock on wood. But, like, as long as these guys all stay healthy and they're all there. Like, remember, like, Dylan Brooks didn't play a majority of the season last year, and they still were the 2 seed in the Western Conference. Like,
yeah, it's, again, like, I think that's what hurt Ja Morant's MVP case. Like, they were 24, they were like 20 and whatever in games he didn't play. So it's like, you're the MVP, but your team is still really good without you. Like, now, obviously, that's the difference. That's literally the difference between the regular season and playoff basketball, because everybody's like, oh, Memphis is 20 something whatever without him, and they're still playing Golden State. They're going to be fine. Like, no. In the regular season, it's a different opponent every night. So it's like,
I mean, that's the thing I used to talk about when the Bulls were good, like when they had Tom Thibodeau as their head coach. Like, yeah, it's very easy to win games when you just play harder than everybody you play. But when you play in the playoffs, you actually have to have like good
stuff.
offense.
You have to have stuff. You have to have stuff. Like, it has to work.
Yeah.
And it's like a QB in the NFL that's not that talented. Like, how's that QB act when the first 12 to 15 plays, when you run those first 12 to 15 plays, and it's like, oh, that's not what's supposed to happen. Like, that's it's harder than I thought it'd be. Like, that's what happens. So, best case scenario, I agree with you. Conference finals, because you did lose in the second round. So conference finals, that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you lose in the second round again.
Yeah, I mean, I think their floor is extremely high. Like, this is a team that has a very high floor and a very high ceiling. Like, the Memphis is going to be good. Like, regardless of how good they're going to be, they're going to be good. Moving on from there, we got one of the more interesting teams in the Western Conference, those Dallas Mavericks. Their starters, Luka Doncic is obviously MVP candidate. Tim Hardaway Jr. coming off that injury. Christian Wood, who they traded for in the offseason. Dorian Finney-Smith, I guess, is their starting 3. JaVale McGee, I just put him there as the starting 5. I don't know. Their starting lineup seems a little bit all over the place. If you look at ESPN.com, this is not what they have listed as their starting lineup, but I think this is what it will be. Key reserve, Spencer Dinwiddie, Josh Green, Reggie Bullock, Maxi Kleber, Jaden Hardy, second round pick. Kind of a steal where they got him really balled out in the summer league.
Absolute steal. That
guy was a top 10 prospect coming into, and then he just didn't play that well at the G League Ignite. Steal. Frank Ntilikina is still technically on this roster. Dwight Powell and Davis Bertans, the sharpshooting 3-point shooter, who they traded for part of the KP trade. Jason Kidd is the coach. Record last year was 42 and 30. Lost in the Western Conference last year.
That math ain't math.
Yeah, you're right. That math. I'm gonna have to look it up.
That math ain't math.
They obviously lost in the Western Conference Finals. I will fix I don't know exactly what's going on there. But yeah, they obviously lost in the Western Conference Finals. They lost Jalen Brunson in the offseason. Could be a blessing in disguise. I don't think he's worth the money that he's going to be getting for the Knicks. But let's talk about some storylines when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks.
Well, obviously, because I get it, Jalen Brunson's probably not worth the max money that they did. But he played
52 and 30. Sorry,
he played his way into that max contract. You can't be mad at him at that. The Mavericks had the price, right? The Mavericks had a price for him. He said, "I'm worth more." And you know the age old saying, yesterday's price is not is not today's price. So
that's what Lamar Jackson's going to be saying for the
yes, right.
months.
Yesterday's price is not today's price. That is that is a mantra to live by. But obviously the first storyline outside of the help for Luka Doncic is replacing Jalen Brunson. Like, say what you want about him, you still got to replace the production that he gave you, right? So as long as that's up in the air for question, like, because that was a surefire. Well, he started he starts last.
He was a borderline starter, you know.
That was a walking. That was a walking like anywhere from 16 to 20 points.
Yep, good 3-point shooter. Thought it shot it over 35% from the 3-point line. So,
right, anywhere from 4 to 6 assists, and not to mention he played maybe close to 40 minutes a game. Somewhere like he had to be in the upper 40s in terms of minutes played.
No
I mean, not upper 40s, upper 30s.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Nobody's played. No, unless they're head coached by Tom Thibodeau, nobody's playing 40 minutes a night.
You're right. So that's best case.
31 minutes a night for the Dallas Mavericks last season for Jalen Brunson.
Right.
Up 25 the season before that.
So he saw increases across the board. Right.
Yep.
Obviously, this conversation starts and ends with the man, the myth, the legend, Luka Doncic. Like when he is. Like he has such an old man game because it's like you want to speed him up, but you can't. You try to like bully him, but he's stronger than he appears to be. And it's like you.
I mean, the dude's 6'7", 230 pounds. Like that's not a small human being. Like he's 4 inches shorter than Poku, but he's got like 40 pounds on him.
And again,
I'm just using Poku as a reference, but like Poku is like 7'1", and he's like 190 pounds.
He's like 100, and what's crazy is like, and this is what makes the greats great. Like they always still find ways to amaze you, right? Like we should get to the point where it's like whatever he does, it's just like, hey man, that's Luka. But when he does it, it's like, yo, it's because he's Luka.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that like that game 7, like against the Phoenix Suns. Like he was
talk just about
like,
it.
Like
talk
he was
about
just
it.
like he was just like disrespectful like that entire game. Like he's just shooting from anywhere. Like he's got that smile on his face the entire time. Like man, if I was playing again, I would have been. If I was a member of the Phoenix Suns, I would have rolled out like somebody we don't care about on the bench, like. Like beyond me, I would be like, man, I'm taking him down, like, for real, dude. Like smiling and like just like not a care of the world.
Yeah,
and
talk about it. Like because hey, I am with you on that because like bro, like you are not gonna hit. You first off, you are not gonna make me fall and then hit a step back and then smile and laugh at me in the process. Like bro, like no, I gotta see you. Like and I talked about that with like the day after the game. I'm like, you lost by 57. Like bro, I gotta see you. Like we gotta have a conversation. Like I gotta see you. Dallas would be the third best team in the division.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's actually pretty spot on. New Orleans will be better. I think that's actually pretty spot on. We'll talk about them in a minute. Let's talk about some storylines as we were already doing. But yeah, this is the Dallas Mavericks. You got to replace Jalen Brunson, and like this is a team that's been striving to find another star to pair with Luka Doncic. Tim Hardaway Jr. is coming back. He's a fine 3-and-D wing. Christian Wood is a fine offensive player. He is a net negative on the defensive side of the ball. I guess that's why you bring that's why you bring in JaVale McGee, I guess. But,
yeah, and I also think like he kind of needed to get out of Houston. Like we know, we'll talk about it. Like they had a situation where him and Kevin Porter Jr. Bro, like they didn't get sent home from the game. They just left.
Yeah,
right? And when we get to that, I got a story for that because like the same thing literally happened in high school. I will get to it when we get to the Houston Rockets. So like he's in a situation where, like if you do that in Dallas, first off, Mark Cuban is not going. Mark Cuban would give you your walking papers that day. Like you leave the game and Mark Cuban here, but like Mark Cuban gonna show up at your house. Like, all right, here, just don't come back. like just don't come back. You're done. Like Mark Cuban is not playing, bro. Like Mark Cuban he's cut for he may give off this persona like he's a fun, lovey guy because you see him at every Mavs game and on that court side.
I mean, if you ever watched him on that other show, Shark Tank, he's for sure.
Bro, he is ruthless, bro.
For real. I mean, he's not Mr. Mr. Wonderful, but he's pretty up there. Like for real. Like you ever watched that show?
So like back to the second superstar thing, like you were kind of hoping that was him and Porzingis, right? Didn't work out. But again, what you don't want with Luka is Dirk 2.0. Like it took forever to build a championship team, a quality championship team around Dirk, and they had it in two spurts, right? They had it in 2006 where they went to the finals, and then you don't go back to the finals for what, 5 years?
Yep. I mean, he went in 2006 and they won the title in 2011. So they were always a playoff team, but they were never really like that. All that until they got Jason Kidd, who was the head coach of the team. I think the real shift here is like they made a real presence on the defensive side of the ball. Like they became like the second best defensive team in the NBA last season after being a pretty bad defensive team under Rick Carlisle the season before.
And that's one of the things about Luka Doncic. Like his defense is not like you're not asking Luka Doncic to be a lockdown defender, but
he did at least show effort on that end of the floor last season.
And that's what Jason Kidd got out of all of those guys. Like you saw the game 7. Jason Kidd he's wired up, he's mic'd up, and he's coaching his ass off. Right? Like that they show that one possession over and over again. Like he is communicating the whole time with these guys. Like obviously, like that can only go so far. Like you went to a Western Conference Finals that no one not only did no one give you a chance at winning, but like they just thought that you weren't supposed to be there, right? Like you were supposed to lose to Phoenix, and that was it. So now season storylines, all right, you have to prove that you beating Phoenix in the game 7 wasn't a fluke, all right? Like you somehow have to validate you going to the Western Conference Finals last season.
And I think the other storyline is like who's the secondary playmaker on this team. So like last season it was Jalen Brunson who was the secondary playmaker. Spencer Dinwiddie's gonna have to step more into that role, but I'm just not sure who the secondary playmaker is on this team right now. It could be Jaden Hardy. I mean, for real.
It could be Jaden Hardy.
Let's talk best and worst case scenario when it comes to Dallas Mavericks. Best case scenario, in my opinion, win it all. Luka wins the MVP as long as he gets into. Like he always shows up like out of shape every season, and he has to work himself into basketball shape. Like be in shape when the season starts. Yeah, Luka.
Well, I don't think that's a problem this year because he definitely played.
I know he's playing over Euro League, whatever, in the Invitational. But yeah, their best case scenario is Luka wins the MVP. They win it all. Their worst. How about you?
Best case scenario, yeah, Luka MVP. Because he's not even a dark horse candidate anymore, right? Like
he's a front runner for sure.
Like, yeah, like you're like you're in the race. Like you are like you have a fair shot. Excuse me, just like everybody else. Like I think I already told you on another show. Like Joel Embiid is he's my favorite to win it. Like, would I be upset if Luka won it again? Like if Luka won it, absolutely not. So yeah. Best case, Luka MVP. You go back to the Western Conference Finals. You somehow make it to the finals. Worst case scenario, you first round exit, depending on the matchup. I don't know, and because like you're asking for a lot of guys to step up that probably didn't have to do that with Jalen Brunson being there. Like obviously, you missed Tim Hardaway Jr. last season. It was pretty obvious. Right, like you missed this, like especially his 3-point shooting, and that's another thing. Like you have to find offense when that, because like obviously like this team is they are two different teams, right? When that 3-point shot is falling, they are world beaters. They can look like they can hang with anybody. When you got guys like Bertans and especially Bertans and Kleber, when they are on. If they do like a combined 8 or 10 from 3 between the two of them, like hey, they're probably gonna win that game. But when they go a combined 2 for 10 from 3, they probably gonna lose that game. So like,
true. I mean, we saw that with Reggie Bullock really struggling.
That.
Yeah, really struggling last season from the 3-point line. So I think so. Let's talk about worst case scenario. I think the worst case scenario is they're the 5 seed in the Western Conference. They're like a play-in team. Because I still have questions about like Christian Wood's fit. He hasn't been exactly the greatest locker room guy either, and I have questions about the secondary playmaker on this team for sure. Their worst case scenario I think is a play-in team.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. Moving on from the Dallas Mavericks, moving on to the most entertaining, most interesting team in this division, New Orleans Pelicans starters Zion Williamson, fresh off that new contract extension. Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, as Izzy just broke on the news there, signed a 2-year extension as well. Herb Jones, I guess, is their starting 4, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to put their starting lineup together outside of the, obviously Valanciunas, Zion, and Brandon Ingram. And then Herb Jones starting 3 in the New Orleans Valanciunas. And then the key reserves, Devontae Graham, Trey Murphy, Larry Nance, Jose Alvarado, Jackson Hayes, Dyson Daniels, first-round pick, Kiera Lewis, Willie Herman-Gomez, and Garrett Temple is a co-reserve. Willie Green, head coach, 36-46 was their record last season. Let's talk some storylines here when it comes to the New Orleans Pelicans.
Obviously, the big one. Right, the big fella, Zion. You got an extension. You ain't just get any extension. You got
5 years, $193 million.
You got a max extension, and that $193 million can go up to as high as what?
193. Oh yeah. I mean, I think the 193 is the max it can hit, and then it goes up, and then it goes down if he doesn't met some body fat weight stuff.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm looking it up. He signed a 5 for 193 that will kick in at start, and it could go as high as 231. Right, that's if he makes an All-NBA team, wins an award, or wins a major award. So if he goes from what he is now to like most improved, he gets more money. If he stays healthy. Like David said,
I think he'll have a hard time winning most improved. I mean, he was already an all-star, but I guess crazier things have happened. So obviously, like the issue here is obviously the weight issue, bro. Like you cannot be 6'8" and 300 pounds. 300 pounds.
That can't happen. Like obviously,
unless you're Kenny Lofton Jr., but
unless you're Kenny Lofton Jr., you are, and you're not even, truth be told, you're not even 6'8", bro. You like 6'6", 6'7".
I mean, he's built like Charles Barkley, really. Charles Barkley was only 6'6" or 6'7".
But Charles Barkley won 280 either.
Yeah, I know he was. But eventually he was.
but that was like the end of his career. Like he was clearly done. So like season storylines is, can Zion forget a 482, right? Can you play 65 games?
Oh, 70 games, man. If you want to, give me 70 games on Zion Williamson.
Something.
I think as combined in his career, he's played like one full season in 3 years.
He's played 85. Combined, his first 2 years in the league, he's played a combined 85 games. Right,
I mean, he didn't play a minute last season. Like he had an ankle injury that he never recovered from, and he never stepped on the floor.
Right. And you got you got outside noises coming in, talking about his family talking about he don't want to be there. All these people talking like pillow talk conversation. It's not really it's pillow. That's just the phrase, right? Pillow talk is you laying down with your significant other, you talking, and all of a sudden. Significant other says something that goes like, oh, how could this person know this unless you say something, right? He having quote unquote pillow talk with the family, he don't want they sound like he don't want to be there. Allegedly, his people ain't happy down there, woo woo, and so you got stuff with that, and you already know the reason they gave him this extension this early, New Orleans, that's the smallest market in the NBA.
Yep, it's market. I think it's market 52 in the United States. It's for sure the smallest market in the NBA. It's the smallest market in the NFL too. Outside of Green Bay, I guess. But
when you say like that's crazy. Like in terms of take all the TV markets in the NBA, this is the smallest one. This is the smallest market. So that's why
it's not essentially all that close. Like I think Milwaukee is the next one. They're like 35 or 30 something like that.
And that's insane. And
Or Memphis, maybe.
And like again, insane. And they might fall behind the apple cart again because if they decide on these two expansion locations, and if they're where we think they're going.
Well, Vegas is right there. Like they're like 50, I think. Like they're at the same, or at least they were last time I did that. Like I checked it. So I mean, they may have jumped up since then.
So another thing, so yeah, who got the deal? CJ? Oh yes, McCollum, right? Two for
McCollum. Yeah.
So hey, hats off to you. More power to you. Proud of you. Happy for you. Yeah, that starting five is
nice.
I don't know if nice is the right word.
I personally love their starting five.
Okay, so all right, so obviously, who else on that, is making plays not named CJ McCollum? Because Brandon Ingram, he needs
Brandon Ingram, man. Come on. Don't you be disrespectful.
Brandon Ingram, would you call Brandon Ingram a playmaker? Would you
he's a star, dude. He's a playmaker.
That don't mean he's a playmaker.
He's a playmaker. I'm not sure. I don't necessarily think he makes other people around him any better, but he for sure is a.
That's literally what a playmaker does, bro. That's literally what. Like he don't make nobody. He don't necessarily make others around him better, but he's a playmaker. Listen to yourself.
He's a star, dude. Brad Ingram is that guy. I would love if Brad Ingram was a Bull, like for real. Take whatever you want out of the Bulls, and I would take it over Brad Ingram. Everything.
Like, come on,
if you want to trade Zach LaVine for Brandon Ingram straight up, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Like, listen to yourself. Like he don't necessarily make others better.
Who would you rather have today, Brandon Ingram or Zach LaVine?
Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's giving me 27 a game.
Brandon Ingram not close.
He's giving me 27 a game. He's such a playmaker. His career high in assists was last year. He averaged 5 assists a game. What a playmaker! What a playmaker!
I mean, we can't all be Rajon Rondo out there, okay? Anyways, yeah, I do think they have a concern. I mean, even CJ McCollum's not really a quote unquote point guard. He's going to play point guard for this team, but he's a scoring guard. I'm not looking at their roster. I'm not sure who the quote unquote playmaker is. I mean, Jose Alvarado is a good defensive player. Devontae Graham's a scorer.
And
Dyson Daniels is a very interesting player. Played G League night.
And Jose Alvarado, like if he gonna keep trying to do that Grand Theft Alvarado stuff where he hide off to the side and he might get believe.
So I play a lot of basketball like at Rex and stuff, right? You will not believe how many people do that now.
Like
ever since Jose Alvarado came into the NBA, you won't believe how many people are like hanging out by where people hang out before while they're waiting for their game. They'll just be like a dude just hanging out over there, and then they'll just try to it happens literally all the time. It's ridiculous.
And New Orleans gonna have to keep an eye out on that because they the bench players they tend to stand up and kind of hide him so he can do that. So it's like now that the league has caught on to that, league officers, they hey, interfere, you get called for interference because of some stuff like that. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of pissed off people, and I'm not joking. Kiera Lewis was a first-round draft pick a few years back.
Best player in the draft 2 years ago.
What is he?
Nothing.
What is he? Can't get on court. What is he?
He's a point guard, but he's just
no.
He doesn't have a consistent shot. He doesn't really. I think he's he's not relevant on this team.
So what's his name? Trey Murphy, exciting player. Trey Murphy,
super athletic.
Oh hell yeah! Same thing with Herb Jones, right? Herb Jones. We both got Herb Jones in the DPOY candidate.
100%.
He got that on him. Jackson Hayes, potential trade chip. Right, he's kind of.
I guess. I mean, I think.
No, seriously, Jackson Hayes.
I wouldn't hate him if he was a Bull.
Jackson Hayes fell out of the rotation. Bro went from being a starter in a bad. I get it. Albeit they were horrible. They were bad, right? The year before, they were bad. Jackson Hayes 10th overall pick was down in the G League at one point, bro. Like, what 10th overall pick go to the G League for any length of time? I don't like outside of like a rehab stint. Right? Like you really got sent down to the G League because you weren't playing, bro.
Man, Sammy Watkins going to the IR. Just a side note.
It just keeps
let's talk best case and worst scenario when it comes to New Orleans Pelicans. Best case scenario.
solid playoff team. No play-in, right? Willie Green gonna be a coach of the year candidate pretty much from this point going forward. He's he's a respectable dude. Like, he was a respectable player when he played, and he is respected by all of his peers. And that, like, for him to be a rookie head coach and for him to take that team and do what he did with them last season, because we wrote them off.
Oh, 100%.
We wrote them off. Like, they were not.
They were like 1-10, and they like the only team ever to start that poorly and make the playoffs. Even though the record not good, but it's how you finish, not how you start.
Right, and so you go 36 and 40, 36 and 46. You gave Phoenix all they could handle.
Yep,
that series was 6 games too long.
It's true. My best case scenario for the New Orleans Pelicans is win it all.
What?
I think they're good enough to win it all. I look at the talent on this roster. I think they could win it all. I think they could. Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, Jonas Valanciunas. I'm not sure there's a better starting five in the NBA. I'm not sure there is a better. And Brandon Ingram is that guy. Yeah, their best case scenario is they win it all.
Oh my God.
They win it all. Worst case scenario in my case, yeah, they're a playing team. They don't improve that much. They're a playing team. I mean, this is a team that gave Phoenix all they can handle is the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. They're adding Zion Williamson.
Jesus Christ, this man.
Their best case scenario is they're a playing team.
I'm looking at my mail right now. This is terrible.
What's your worst case scenario when it comes to New Orleans? and if you couldn't tell, I'm pretty high on New Orleans this season. I think they're gonna be good, real good.
Oh my! This man said win it all. So they're gonna go from play-in to winning it all, huh?
They might be the number 1 seed in the Western Conference next season.
Do you let's just address that on its head. Do you know who they'd have to beat?
Yeah.
And with a straight face, you think they could do it?
The number 1 seed in the Western Conference next season.
Like,
and they're gonna go to the finals.
Forget Golden State.
That's the best case scenario. That's the best case. I'm just saying, best case scenario. Best case scenario. They're number 1 seed in the Western Conference.
And I get that's best case.
Zion Williams is the MVP.
I'm trying to flip this on its head, so like you can really. I want you to really understand what just came out of your mouth. Like, so for them to do all that, they have to beat literally the 2 teams in their division, Memphis, Dallas, right? They got to beat Phoenix. The Clippers are going to be better. I'm not even mentioning Golden State. Right? I'm not even mentioning Golden State.
Well, I mean, I'm standing by it. I'm standing by it. They're going to the finals.
This is who they're going to have to get through just to play Golden State. Somehow, somewhere, they're going to have to play a combination of they're going to go to Dallas, Memphis, Phoenix, the Clippers, Denver, Minnesota's going to be better. That's 6 teams right there. That's 6 teams.
I'm not aware. I said what I said. Worst case scenario for you?
Oh my God. Worst case, you somehow, some way, you're a play-in team again, and that's not out of the realm of possibility. When you literally consider the teams I just listed off, not named Golden State. I literally listed off 6 teams that's probably going to be better than them, and that's not mentioning Golden State. So if I want to add Golden State to that mix, that's 7 teams. So you're already clawing for. So once you're past, like once you're a 7 seed, that's play-in, right?
Yeah.
So like 7 through what is it? 7 through 11.
7 through 10.
7 through 10. You're play-in. Right, so Golden State, Memphis, Dallas, Clippers, some like Denver, that's 5. Minnesota, that's 6. That's locked right there. So
Yeah, I think their worst case scenario is for sure a playing team. Moving on from the New Orleans Pelicans, although I've got TJ in a riot here because I think they're going to win it all. San Antonio Spurs made the play-in last season. Greg Popovich is still the head coach of this team for now. Record last season 34-48. Their starting lineup. This might be the least talented roster in the NBA right now. Trey Jones, Devin Vassell, Doug McDermott, Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl. Their key reserves: Josh Primo, Josh Richardson, Zach Collins, Jeremy Sochan, Blake Wesley. Both of those guys were first-round picks, and so was Malachi Branham at Ohio State, Isaiah Roby, Gordy Jang, and Romeo Langford, who they traded for in the Derek White trade, last season before the deadline. This is obviously a Spurs team that's in a rebuild. They traded away DeJounte Murray in the offseason, got a kind of treasure trove for him. This is a Spurs team that's going to stink. We're talking about storylines, but this is not going to be a talented team. They're in the Wembanyama sweepstakes for damn sure.
Yeah, they are. It's okay. So I shared a screenshot to the group where it's like they want 2 first rounders for Jakob Poeltl. I'm like, I want whatever.
What world?
I want whatever pack they're smoking on, so I can.
In what world? Jakob Poeltl worth 2 first-round picks.
So I gotta experience that high that he had.
It's only hanging out with Aaron Rodgers.
I gotta experience that high that he had when he uttered that sentence. So yeah, again, this is a fan base that has been literally and utterly spoiled. All they know is great basketball for 21 years, 18 straight of 50-win seasons. Right? That's never going to be done again. That's never going to be done again. You are never going to get a team that's, first off, your core trio is not going to stay together that long. It's not going to happen. Right? Second of all, you're, again, 18 plus of 50 or more wins. Greg Popovich is now the winningest head coach in NBA history.
I'm actually, I gotta be completely honest with you, I'm actually surprised he didn't retire.
After, yeah. That's definitely a storyline. That is 100% a storyline. How long is Greg Pop gonna put up with
this? This has got to be it. This has got to be it.
Like, not put up with, but like, how long is Greg Pop is gonna go? Like, we always said that. And it's kind of his fault though, because he said when Tim Duncan walks out the door, I'm right behind him. He did say that. So
that's been 4 years since that's been
right. That's been 4 or 5 years now, and you're still there, and you're not. Obviously, you're in the right now. You're in the Wembanyama sweepstakes, right? So you're not.
100%.
You're not going to be good.
They're gonna be borderline the worst team in the NBA.
And the last time you were the worst team in the NBA, you did walk away with the number 1 overall pick in Tim Duncan, right? So,
change your franchise forever. So
change your franchise forever, right? Like it's funny how it works. So you got a bunch of guys on this team that, again, what are they? Devin Vassell, what are you? Keldon Johnson, what are you? Right? I get it. You played. You was on Team USA, bro. You won gold.
Yep.
Right. You won gold. Josh.
I thought he was going to be the most improved player of the NBA last season. That didn't work out.
Not even close. Josh Primo, what are you? What are you? Romeo Langford, what are you? Right? Malachi Branham, saw a lot of Ohio State. Yeah, Ohio State freshman, a Big Ten freshman of the year. First off, again, the Big Ten, ACC, that is the who's who of college basketball. I swear to God. Like, no team, like those two conferences put more high pace. Just leave her be. Just leave her be. Unless she sits directly in front of the camera, you don't pay any money. Like when you play for the Big Ten and the ACC, you are in a dogfight. It is 10 other teams that can call themselves the best team in those respective conferences. So for Malachi Branham to be the best freshman in the Big Ten, that's saying something, right? That's saying something. So I think he should be he could easily be a day one starter because that starting 5, that's not set in stone.
No, definitely not
at all. right? Doug McDermott, we know what you are. Jakob Pertl, 2 first-round picks. That is tough.
Oh my God. I actually think they're going to play a lot of Zach Collins this season because I think they want to find out what he is anything, because he was a top 10 pick. He spent a lot of time injured in Portland.
He was 10. He was literally
yeah,
10.
Yeah, he was in a trade for Sacramento that didn't work out at all for Portland.
So I don't season storyline obviously with a guy who's supposed to be a generational talent like Wembanyama, how do you go? Like, are you just flat out tanking?
They're just not putting out good. They're just not playing good players. Like they're not tanking.
Because like the one thing I will give Greg Pop credit for is that just losing to like intentionally lose. Basically, Pop ain't going for that.
No way,
right?
No way.
Like bro, like if you gonna play, you gonna play. God damn it, like you gonna play hard.
Yeah.
Like I don't give a damn if we ain't good, but you're gonna play. You're gonna play hard, and so. And the succession plan, like we are, like who's next? So he retires. Who's next?
I don't know. I mean, for a long time, everybody thought it was going to be Becky Hammond, but she just won a WNBA title, so I don't think she's going to be stepping in and replacing Greg Popovich. So, I mean, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about Udoka. We'll talk about Udoka tomorrow, but like he might get fired. He might get fired from Boston. He might be the next guy to be the coach.
Like at the end of the day, but it's like okay, like we can say that, but like. Who would want this? I mean, like, who would want this job?
Brent Brown is a guy that's been he's a Pop disciple who has experience coaching the NBA.
And I don't think that's fair to him because he like again
he already went through this once.
He went like and did he go through it? Like, bro, like
for sure. He definitely went through it.
9-72, like 9-73.
Sorry, let's talk best and worst case scenario when he talks about the San Antonio Spurs.
So this is actually one I'm gonna like best case scenario. You end up with the number 1 overall pick. That is the best case scenario.
I'm 100% on the same way like you. They have the worst record in the NBA that have the number 1 pick. That's their best case scenario. How about worst case scenario?
What they don't get the number 1 overall pick.
I think the worst case scenario is they somehow Greg Popovich coaches this team to like the play-in or something. Like
first off, that's a fish up. I get it, he's earned that, but that ain't happening.
No, for sure not.
Like seriously, like so worst case scenario is you're still a lottery team, but you're like top 5 and you're not 1. Right? So like if you're 1, like if you're not 1 where you know for a fact you're gonna get Wembanyama, you're 2, you're 3.
I mean, let's not pretend like there's not some talent. Like there's some real talent in this year's draft. Like
okay, no. I get that. There's talent in this draft.
There's Scoot Henderson. There's the 2 twins that are playing in the G League. They're in the overseas Atlantic or OT, whatever that league is called, right?
Overtime league.
They got the 2 twins on that team.
The Thompson twins, Asur and I think it's like Asur and Amin. I gotta look their names up. But they cold. They are cold. They are so cold.
Yeah, and they're real good. And there's some good players in the draft outside of Victor Wembanyama. He's the prize of this draft, but there's some other good players. Moving on to the Houston Rockets. Starters: Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Eric Gordon. I guess is going to be their starting shooting guard, I guess, until he gets traded. Jabari Smith, first-round pick. Al Bruin Segun, key reserves. Trey Burke, Josh Christensen, who was really good in the summer league, actually. Jason Tate, Usman Garabu, Terry Eason was a first-round pick. Bojan Marjanovic has ended up on this team. Ty Washington, first-round pick. Kenyon Martin Jr., Willie Cauley-Stein, and David Nwaba. Steven Stiles is the head coach. Their record last season was 20-62. Storylines when it comes to the Houston Rockets.
All right, young talent, all right. Obviously, 2nd overall pick, Jabari Smith, right? Yeah, 2nd overall pick.
Third.
You want what?
3rd overall pick.
Oh, third. My bad. So 3rd overall pick. Obviously, like it's headlined by him, right? So pecking order, like that's like you have to establish the pecking order on this team, right? It's
got to be Jalen Green is the best player on this team. He has to be.
So, all right, so that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to establish. There's nothing worse than a young team without structure, right? So, like you said, like, so who is the best player on this team? It's probably Jalen Green, right? So it starts, ends, Jalen Green, like, and Steven Silas has to kind of come in and set that early, like first day of training camp. Hey, Jalen Green, the C is on your chest. You're the captain. This is yours.
Well, I also think they benefit by the fact that Jalen Green didn't go to college. Like he played in the G League 19. Like he played with professional basketball players, and like he understands how to be a pro. Like he picked that up.
Coaching, yeah, that
yeah. And so like he understands like that, like the pecking order needs to be established, and I think he'll step up and be that guy on this team. I think the major storyline for this team is like this team feels like this should be like a not a play-off team, but like a play-in team, borderline. Like they've been rebuilding since they traded away James Harden. Kevin Porter Jr. is an interesting player they got basically for free, who is talented, but kind of a basket case at times. Like he basically blew up in Cleveland because somebody took his locker and he lost his mind over, which I don't necessarily blame him for. And then obviously the story that we're talking about with you, where he basically left the team. Like they had a halftime and they just out. Like he was like, we're like, oh, I'm out of here. Christian Wood.
So again, like story time. Like, all right, so this is like my sophomore year of high school, right? So I'm not playing. I'm not playing because I am literally recovering from an open heart surgery procedure that I had like 2 months prior, right? So like that was in September. This had to happen in like November-ish, right? So we're at home, 2 guys on the team, right? They are just, it's just not a good Friday night for them. Like they are getting killed. They are just getting straight up massacred, right? Halftime goes, right? Halftime ends, and the two guys on the team, they are sitting, they up in the stands with us. They sitting with us. They literally just like, halftime, they took off their uniform, got dressed, and said, "F it, I'm not subjecting myself to that anymore." And I asked them, like, "Yo, I ain't for the name drop them because like I will out of respect for them do that." Like, I'm like, "Hey man, what's going on? Ain't you supposed to be like, get that, bro?" So like, bro, like, and I think that's what's even more funny about it. Like Kevin Porter Jr. and Christian Wood, like they went home. Them two brothers, like they sat up there and continued to watch. So Kevin Porter Jr. like, all right, yeah, you gotta grow up, dude. Like you gotta mature and fast, right? Like this is a team, like again, since the rebuild, they've had multiple first round picks, and they got some more first round picks coming. If you don't progress in terms of maturity, if you don't progress in the ways that they want to see it, your talent is not to the point where it's like, all right, we can put up with this because he's given us the ROI return of interest is net positive, right?
Yep.
If you continue to do this, bro, like they will send you home. They will like. And
I mean, Cleveland basically gave up on you. So one team's already given you up.
One team's already given up on you, dude. And
yeah. So. But I think Eric Gordon's an interesting trade chip. He's an expiring deal now, so I don't expect him to be on this team. I'm just kind of surprised he's still on the team.
I get like the whole vet leadership thing, like, but at this point,
I mean, they got Willie Cauley-Stein. They got some other guys. They got Boban for that. Like, they don't necessarily like Eric Gordon can help. Eric Gordon can help a contender right now.
David Nwaba's been around a while, so yeah, he can do that too. Like, and I'm with you. Like, I would love to see Eric Gordon go back to playing meaningful basketball.
I would love it if he was a Laker. I don't know how they can make that happen, but I think he should be a Laker. Let's talk about best and worst case scenario when it comes to the Houston Rockets. Best case scenario, I think they're a playoff team, like a play-in team, playoff team, play-in team. There's talent. The starting lineup is pretty solid. Like I have some question marks about their bench and some of the other pieces on this roster, but their starting lineup should be at least be able to score in bunches. I don't know how good defensively they're going to be, but like this should be like the number one scoring offense in the NBA and a play-in team. Best case scenario.
Yeah, best case scenario. I agree with you. Like they are talented. I don't think they're playoff. I don't think they're like surefire shoot and play off team talented. Like because again, like it's some teams they gonna have to go through to get to that spot, right? So like your best case scenario is you are a borderline play-in team. Like if you somehow scrape your way to the 10 seed, I get it. That's a huge jump. You
Yeah.
go from that means you
They had the worst record in the NBA last season.
that means you damn near have to double your win total. You have to go from 20 wins to at least 40 wins to even be in the conversation.
I think if you get to 35, because the Spurs made the play in last season, they only had 34 wins. Although I will say, so obviously the Spurs are going to drop out of this. Utah is going to drop out of this.
Mhm.
You expect Portland and the Kings and the Lakers potentially be better. I think if you can get to 38 wins, you're probably a play-in team in the Western Conference this season.
Ooh.
So that's an 18 win.
Okay, see, but like that's the reason I say 40 because like obviously the more wins you get, the more solidified your spot is, right? So, but I don't disagree with your logic behind it. So like yeah, either way it go, you're gonna have to basically double your win total.
Yeah, basically, yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's your best case scenario. Let's talk about worst case scenario when it comes to the Houston Rockets. For me, I think that they end up with like 20 wins, and they're just not any better. Like you look at the pieces, they just don't make a lot of sense together because you've used a lot of first-round picks, and as TJ always talks about, like having first-round picks is nice, but you got to hit on those first-round. You got to make those first-round picks count. I mean, Jabari Smith Jr. wasn't particularly impressive in the summer league, and he's not really. I don't think he's a great shot creator. I think he's a good shooter and facilitator, but I don't think he creates his own shot in an elite way. And if Jalen Green doesn't take a step forward in his NBA career, Kevin Porter Jr. might not be on this roster when the season's over. But yeah, I think they just don't do any. They don't do any better. They stay at like 20 wins. And they have the worst record in the NBA. That's the worst case scenario. Like this is a team that should be pushing for the playoffs. Like you've had top 5 picks in 3 years in a row. Like you should be pushing for the playoffs now. And
you had multiple first-round picks.
Yeah, I mean, Alburn Sengun, first-round pick. Josh Christopher, first-round pick. Tari Eason, Ty Washington.
First round. Jalen Green, first-round pick. Like, bro, like, you had...
Alburn Sengun, first-round pick. Jabari Smith. Kevin Porter Jr. was a first-round pick for the Cavaliers, so...
Like, yeah, like, at some point in time, you got to... Hey, this... It has to start to formulate. It has to start to be put... Like, it has to be put together. All right? Yeah. Like, you... Like, hey, come on now. Like, it has, like patience, like people can only be patient for so long, which is kind of what like Orlando's going through. It's like, all right, you got all this young talent. Like same thing with Sacramento. You got all this young talent. You gotta start doing something with it. Like, what are you doing? Hey, so real quick question: if they are worse, do you fire Steven Silas? Yep. All right.
I think if you stay around the same, even if they win 25 again, I think they're going to fight. Like that's another worst case scenario. Like they don't get any better, and Steven Silas doesn't have a job. So we'll see what happens. That's been our Southwest Division preview. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. I've been David Hupp, and tomorrow we're going to be breaking down the Atlantic Division. A lot of going on for a division that had the Eastern Conference team that went to the finals and lost to the Golden State Warriors, but a lot of stuff going on with that.
I just got to say this. Brooklyn Nets, congratulations.
Yeah, for real. Toronto Raptors, congratulations. But yeah, that's going to be our preview tomorrow. That show is going to air at 12 Eastern Standard Time, right before the kickoff of the NFL on Sunday. So don't want to miss that content. I've been David Hupp, and right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins. And TJ, what would you here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat. And I forget Greg Pop. I want what you smoking on. Like the Pelicans going to the finals. Like,
I got my water, brother.
No, it's something in that. I need what you got.
I'll see you later. Have a good night, man. Peace out.